The gentleman from Florida is recognized for as much time as he may consume.
Thank you, gentlemen, for yielding. Mr. Speaker, I rise today in support of House Resolution 3667. It's been pointed out it's a bill to honor Clyde L. Hillhouse by designating the post office at 16555 Spring Street, White Springs, Florida, after this World War II hero who devoted his life to public service. Clyde Leroy Hillhouse was born on February 11, 1914, in Hamilton County, Florida, a small county halfway between Jacksonville and Tallahassee. On October 10th, in 1940, when he was only 25 years old, he answered the call to serve his nation in patriotic service. He enlisted in the United States Army Air Corps. Mr. Hillhouse was assigned to the 27th Bomb Group and departed with his unit for duty in the Philippines in November of that year. Mr. Hillhouse and his fellow airmen from the 27th Bomb Group were trained as infantry soldiers and fought, as has been pointed out, in defense of Bataan and Corregidor Island from the invading Japanese forces. After the eventual fall of Corregidor Island, Mr. Hillhouse was captured and held as a POW by the Japanese forces and survived the infamous Bataan Death March, where it's estimated that 30% of all the prisoners were brutally killed by their captors. And for over 2 years, Mr. Hillhouse was assigned to slave labor, unloading ships in Manila. In July of 1944, he was sent to Japan on a freighter, where he was kept as a prisoner until his release at the end of the war. And like so many people in his generation, Mr. Hillhouse returned to his life and his family after the war in White Springs, with little discussion about the torture and the atrocities that he had endured and witnessed as a prisoner of war for 3.5 years. In fact, Mr. Hillhouse continued his public service and became an employee of the United States Postal Service. Both he and his wife, Sarah, worked at the White Springs Post Office from July 4th, 1947 until his retirement in 1973. Mr. Speaker, I believe that as elected members of Congress, we have an obligation and duty to honor and protect the veterans of our nation, those who put their lives on the line so that we as Americans can have the security and freedom that we enjoy in this great country deserve the utmost recognition. And I believe the designation of this post office is a fitting tribute to a man who valiantly served in the armed services, survived slave labor and POW camps, and continued to serve his nation as postmaster. And so I urge my colleagues to vote in favor of this legislation, and I yield back the balance of my time.